Okay, we're back. Welcome back. I hope everyone had time to grab a little coffee because I'm here. I'm excited to introduce the next session. It's called Coffee Talk. It's the first panel discussion of the day. We have, as you can see on the screen, Elizabeth Denley, the editor of the Heartfulness Magazine, along with two other people, Sharanyaa, Iyer, and Avani Patel. And today's panel will focus on a really interesting article about the transition our planet is going through. And as far as I know, it's based off of an interview. The article is based off of an interview with Bruce Lipton, who is an internationally best-selling author. And he wrote the book, The Biology of Belief, along with other books that are really interesting, and a great speaker and writer. So if we have Elizabeth and Avani and Sharanyaa ready, please join us, join this program. Sorry, I should also mention we have Alka Patel. She's going to moderate today's session. I wasn't aware of that until now, but our lovely sister Alka Patel, I know her very well. And I'm looking forward to hear what you guys have to say about this article and what you find out during this session.
Yaldi, how can you forget me, my love?
I had no clue. I wasn't informed, but
no, I understand. So thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as Yaldi says, I'm Alka Patel, a heartfulness trainer, but also I'm working now with some lovely people with the Heartfulness Institute, looking at global events and reports. And this particular session, Coffee Talks, we started last month. And it's a very, very interesting project. I'm working with some amazing people. So I'll tell you more about it in a minute, but may I pass it on to Sharanyaa?
Thank you, Alka. Hi, everyone. My name is Sharanyaa, and I am a communications and media student. I'm in my final year, and I've been practicing heartfulness for about 6 years. I find it incredibly useful in terms of dealing with anxiety, dealing with academic stress, and generally the highs and lows of being a student, I guess. What about you, Avani?
Hi, everyone. I'm Avani. I'm a second-year Biomedical Science student at university, and I've also been practicing heartfulness for about 4.5 years now, and exactly what Sharanyaa said about being a student and coping with stressful periods of time, and just helping me focus in my everyday life. Yeah, so I go back to Alka now.
So yeah, guys, look, I've got my coffee. Avani, I can see yours. Sharanyaa, I hope you got yours, my lovely.
Mine's hidden away right here.
Please drink. Okay, so Heartfulness Magazine. I mean, we do get it at a hard copy, but it's online and it's free for everybody. And one of the topics, one of the extracts we've taken from the Heartfulness Magazine is a gentleman called Bruce Lipton. I know Yaldi mentioned him, a fantastic scientist, and he talks about raising consciousness. And it was a beautiful article written. I'm going to pass it on to you, my lovelies.
Yeah, thank you, Alka. So yes, in this article, Bruce Lipton talks about a few ecological issues that the planet is going through. And he also discusses a little bit about what role the humans play in this whole cycle, basically. So here's a small extract from the article. And he says, "We are now in the 6th mass extinction." Just to give you an idea, the World Wildlife Foundation did a survey of how many animals there were on this planet in 1970. And they did a similar survey about 1.5 years ago and found out that 63% of the entire animal population has disappeared since 1970. Since 1950, 90% of the fish population in the ocean has gone. So we have only 10% of the fish left on the planet. Scientists recognize that by 2048, there will be no fish in the ocean because of overfishing, polluting the oceans, and destroying breeding grounds. So it's quite intense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it kind of just gives you an insight into what's actually happening in our own planet. And it's quite eye-opening, really, especially the specific facts, because I personally had no idea before I read this. And it makes you realize that we need to take responsibility and ownership of our own actions. And this kind of links on to what Bruce Lipton says in the next slide, where he talks about more in depth of our behavior and what we can kind of do. So he goes on to say that we've reached that stage. We're in it right now, the global crisis. It's not the virus that's just the problem. Let me try to give you an analogy. When you look at a picture of trees, here's one tree and here's another tree. But if you pull far enough back, it's a forest. All crises, whether they are racial, religious, economic, political, or of disease, are symptoms of a world out of balance. So, what are we going to do about it? The answer is this. Since human behavior is causing the imbalance, then it's only human behavior that we have to focus on. I think we should take a few minutes to just reflect on this and reread it if you please, and just write down any thoughts or feelings that may come to you and just digest what's been said.
So, may I ask you something, girls? See, for me, I want to know more about, so during this session, not session, but this period of the change in your life, the last, say, couple of months, the environment has changed, not just for everybody really, globally, it was the unknown. What changes occurred for you? Was there anything? Sharanyaa?
What do you mean by that, Elka?
Oh, okay. So, you know, changes, small changes, big changes. Did you spend more time with your family? Talking about this whole COVID situation, everyone's talking about, but let's go down to specific. Was there any changes you made?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I know what you're saying. I have spent a lot of time with my family. I think in the last 4 years, I've not spent as much time with them as I have now. And I'm really thankful for that because, you know, I kind of forgot what it's like to be at home, and it's a very wholesome feeling. But yeah, I've also made rejuvenating myself a priority. So a few months ago, I had my first experience of working full time and being in a 9-to-5 job, which doesn't leave you time for much else. So I had a bit of experience of not feeling so integrated and not feeling like, you know, I really had my own space to think of what I want to do. So I've decided to make integration a priority in my life, and the lockdowns really helped me with that. But what do you think, Avani?
Yeah, just to build on what you said, actually, with the spending time with family, I think that's probably the biggest change for me personally. And it's not really, it's kind of that quality time that I've spent with them, because before it'd be part of a day or part of a week. It wouldn't be how it is in how it has been in the past couple of months. And I think it's nice because we've kind of created that loving atmosphere in our homes now that we didn't really have there before. And also another change that I've made is I've been able to focus more on myself and just to take time to grow myself physically and mentally to become healthier, which kind of again links on to the next slide, where Bruce Lipton mentions how we can control our genes through the lives that we maintain and the lifestyle that we kind of have. So he says in the article, most people on this planet have been programmed to believe that their lives are controlled by genes. Having the gene doesn't cause cancer. It's living a lifestyle that is not supportive of harmony and health that causes the gene to come into play in a system that is falling apart, essentially. So when you read this, Sharanyaa, what's your opinion on this? Do you think it's just our genes? Do you think it's our environment? What's your opinion?
To be honest, I think it's a bit of both. I wouldn't go as far to say that living a harmonious lifestyle, is the only thing that gives you that influences your life, for example. So I would say genes definitely have a role to play. That's inarguable, but you can't minimize the role of harmony. There's been so many studies out there to show how less anxious people are generally healthier. They live longer. They're happier. They're more content. They have higher immunities. So harmony is really, I think, understated in our current world. But what do you think, Alka?
Oh, okay. So what do I think? Listening to you guys, I'm finding this really interesting. Maybe I could share something that's happened recently to me. My day-to-day life, I'm a teacher, and during this whole period of lockdown, not only was this creating a fear for me, but I noticed my colleagues at work, and I could feel there was this anxiety. Now, a lot of today's community before the lockdown were talking about anxiety, depression, mental awareness or illness, and that was the norm in people's conversation. But once since the lockdown, it became for real. It was the unknown, wasn't it, for everybody globally? And I thought this is something I had to change. And this article is very relevant because it talks about changing behaviour. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. It's finding that combination and like that balance between in our lifestyles, really. But yeah, this kind of reminds me of that piece of the article, Sharanyaa. Did you manage to read it?
Yeah, it's actually coming up next. I think it's a good idea to read this out loud.
Yeah.
So, what controlled the fate of the cells? It wasn't the genes. They all had the same genes. The thing that was different was the chemistry of the environment. The genetics of the cells were controlled not by the genes, but by the environment. Now, this is really interesting, but what was the research behind this, Avani?
Yeah, so Bruce Lipton actually did a study, and to kind of show how the role of environments on genes. And what he did, he used stem cells. And what are stem cells? So stem cells are genetically identical cells, and everyone has them in our bodies. And they differentiate into all of our different cell types that make up us as humans. And so in the study, he used 3 colonies of stem cells, and he put them into different environments on a plate. And what he did, he wanted to see how they would grow and if they would grow into different cells. And in the article, he actually says that because of the environment, they changed, they grew into different cell types. So one of them was bone, one of them was muscle, and one of them was fat. And despite them all being genetically identical and exactly the same cells, it was actually the environment that had the impact of the control of the genes, which led them to become different, which I find really fascinating. And it's something that we can definitely like implement in our own lives. Yeah.
So for someone like me, because I like science, I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you talk about change. I mean, what could you do more of?
Well, I think change definitely happens on a the most important change is to happen on a personal level. And the things that we can do to change is growing our mindsets. And like, I think yesterday or the day before, someone was talking about the growth mindset and having that to kind of evolve and become better. And we can do this through meditation. And we become more self-aware, we have more control over our thoughts, and kind of just refine ourselves to becoming, like I said, more aware, more balanced, really. What do you think, Sharanyaa?
100%. And I think meditation's always really good for noticing the thoughts that come and go from your system. Because when you're absolutely, clear in the head and you start at a 0 level, you're starting to realize any additions that come on, or any kind of imperfections which could be improved easily just by noticing that they're there. But 2 other things I think that would really help would be physical exercise and your diet. And I think sometimes in the community that we live in, exercise is often treated like an add-on to your life, like something that's not really a necessity. But I think for a holistic experience, a holistically good experience, exercise is so necessary, to give yourself that time as well, and also get the endorphins flowing and be stress-free and just really get it out. But diet as well, yeah. So eating healthy just for a few days itself improves your state of mind instantly. Like if you just eat well for 3 days, you'll just immediately notice physically how much better you are, how much better your skin is, how much better your mood is. And cooking with love and intention just for a few days immediately just changes things around. I've noticed that at least. And I remember you saying earlier as well, Alka. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you talk about food and how we all love food, and this whole importance of making it with love. May I also say, can we really bring on Elizabeth? Because, we're talking about the magazine. I'm not going to say anything anymore. May we please have our special guest, Elizabeth Denley. And I'm so sorry we made you wait for so long. How are you?
Hi guys, very happy to be here with you and
Hi,
to
thank
be
you
part
for
of this
joining.
Youth 2.0. It's fantastic what you're doing. Just to follow on from what you were talking about with the Bruce Lipton article, this was in the June edition. We have parts 2 and 3 in July and August, and it gets better and better. Part 2, you'll find he's explaining a lot more about how we live our lifestyle to work on this stuff. And especially, I'll just share you one tip that really made me think a lot. He talks about the fact that we have our conscious mind where we're thinking, we're creative, and then the subconscious is really on autopilot most of the time. And it's very much how we programmed from birth until year 7. And if you believe in past lives, through our past lives. And so what he says, and think about this in terms of your daily life, what he says is that when we're using our conscious mind to be always busy with thoughts. When the mind is actively full of so many thoughts, what happens with everything else, including our behavior, our reactions, etc.? We go on autopilot. And what does that mean? It means that if I'm busy thinking about stuff and something happens in an interaction with a family member or a work colleague or whatever, my response will be emotional, it'll be automatic, and it'll be from early childhood programming. And this is why it's so hard to change. And this is what he's talking about with raising consciousness, raising awareness, that we learn how to work with that. And of course, Heartfulness has amazing tools to do that if you let it happen. So look forward to parts 2 and 3. What to say about the magazine in general? Do you want to ask me some questions? That might be the best way.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to ask you more, not just about the magazine, Elizabeth. Many of us know who you are, but can we break it right down? Can you tell the youth who you are? Sorry to ask.
Well, it's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to, but I'll do something on it. I've been practicing heartfulness for about, well, over 30 years now. And I can genuinely say that, you know, I've observed it, I've witnessed it changing my life. You know, growing up, I'm originally Australian. I grew up in a normal Australian Western family, very sort of Anglo-European background, which Australia was back then, full of prejudice, full of terrible atrocities towards the local Indigenous people, all sorts of things. I mean, it was a very, it was a different era back then. Something like Black Lives Matter or Me Too just didn't exist in that era. And of course, and that was in the 50s. And then I went through the huge transformation in the West of the hippie generation, which we're sort of seeing a similar mirror to in India today. The sort of expansion of consciousness, the expansion of ideas outside traditional thinking, huge generation gaps, etc. I survived all that. I did my university degrees in biological sciences and ecology, basically. Marine ecology is what I specialized in, but my whole study was in studying the natural world. And as well, I was a musician, professional musician, and interested in spirituality, but not from a religious perspective at all, because I grew up in a family that was very much resistant to the doctrines and the dogma of religion. So I had the wonderful opportunity to explore many other things, which eventually in my early 30s led me to heartfulness. And from the first experience, I knew that this could take me on an evolutionary journey that none of the other things I'd studied previously could. And that journey's continued. I think for me, evolution is what's important in life, to have some ultimate purpose to an existence, to realize some sort of potential. And so that's why I'm here in Kana, that's why I'm working on the magazine, that's why I meditate every day. And I think it's changed everything. It's changed how I am with my kids, who are both adults now, with work colleagues. It gives a different perspective. It allows you to pause, it allows you to work on yourself, what I would call continuous improvement. Because I think we're all a work in progress. And once we realize that, and once we start to be able to accept that my problems, my sufferings, my, you know, tendencies, I'm not alone in any of them. Everyone out there is going through the same struggles. When we can get rid of our egos and start to say, you know what, I can share this with other human beings. I can start to really open up and build community. And funnily enough, the July edition of the magazine, if you've got it there somewhere, the cover, is called Community. It's about how we move into this new era of self-acceptance and acceptance of each other. compassionate consciousness. And, you know, looking at Bruce Lipton's stuff about how we have to change, how this era is all about either mass extinction or evolution. It's really a time for change. So I guess the magazine is a forum where all of you can contribute to that, and where we have, you know, celebrities like Mirabai Bush and Bruce Lipton and Michael Singer and many others contributing. All of you are welcome to contribute articles as well, or illustrations. You would have seen the beautiful illustrations by Avani Patel, who was London-based. She's now back in India, but she did her studies in London. We have many young contributors, and that's one of the wonderful things about the magazine. It's very fresh and vital and dynamic because of the youth contribution.
So
enough, yeah.
Can I ask that question? I remember asking you this many years ago, and I just feel could be useful. That answer you gave me was beautiful. Was, oh, Elizabeth, I've got so much going on. You know, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. You know, I didn't know what hat I'm wearing. What hat am I wearing? And I remember your response. Can you remember what you said?
No, I've got no idea. Tell me.
Yeah. So it was like, I was in a panic because not only was I a mother, I was a teacher, I was a this, I was that, and the question, I had too much going on, and how was I going to cope? And I sent you that email, and I said, I'm wearing too many hats. Which one should I be wearing? And that, do you remember the answer? It was all about, and your answer was so profound. It was, Alka, you only wear one hat. And it's so beautiful that I thought I'd bring that up. It was, you were telling me, just be true to yourself and be connected.
I think for youth, that's the most important thing, how to be authentic. Because if you can do that, if you can really listen to your heart and let your heart guide you in who you are, then you'll be happy. You may have struggles, people may not agree with you, but you'll feel integrity. And once you have that, you have a solid base, you have your center. That's the most important thing. That's why I meditate, or one of the reasons why I meditate, because that's what this gives me. Gives me that integrity.
I have a question, Elizabeth, for you. About authenticity. How would you recommend that, you know, for someone who is a youth, and to merge something like meditation and spirituality into my student life, where it's not that common? How would you help me in terms of, you know, being authentic?
So a lot of it is about being able to express why meditation is good for you. So my teacher in all this, Daji, he went through the same thing when he was at college, right? He started meditating with a friend who was one of his hostel mates, and eventually they built up quite a group. But what is the resistance in people around? It's that, I'll tell you what I think, okay? And I may be wrong, but this is my feeling. When you're young and you're still discovering yourself, I mean, I'm still discovering myself, but when I was young, I wasn't anywhere there yet, and I was still trying to find what I wanted. And there's a lot of peer pressure to be the, you know, the cool person, the outrageous person, all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of self-destructive behavior around. And I understand why, because when you don't have any grounding in yourself, then you don't have any option to deal with your struggles, your problems, your habits, your everything when you're young, other than doing self-destructive things. And it's not because you want to hurt yourself, you don't know any other way. So when somebody comes along and says, I meditate, it can be quite confronting, because what are you doing when you're meditating? You're looking at yourself like this. You're seeing what's going on inside. You're allowing feelings to come up. And some of those feelings are not always the most fun things to see about yourself. If you're feeling lonely, You know, one of the things that we all want in our 20s is we want a partner, we want somebody to share things with, we want to feel love, we want to be in relationship, all those things, right? And if it's not happening and you're feeling like, what's wrong with me? And you start looking inside yourself, meditating, you squirm sometimes. It's about learning to deal with all that. It's learning to face your feelings. So if you can help people to understand that, to get over that hump of saying, oh, it's better to go drinking because then I don't have to feel. Or it's better to just watch movies, binge watch Netflix or whatever it is so I don't have to deal with what I'm going through. And say, come meditate with me. Yeah, there might be uncomfortable moments, but I will feel alive because this is really me. And when you're able to let fears and anxieties and anger and all the greed and envy and jealousy, when you let yourself embrace that and wash it through you and say, this is just about being human. I'm the same as everyone else. Let me learn to manage these emotions. Let me master these emotions. Let me use them for my own evolution and growth. Then it becomes a wonder. It becomes like a treasure hunt. Like, when you're a small kid and you're going on a treasure hunt and it's like, oh, look what I found here. And, oh, look, next clue sort of thing. It becomes like that. And I think it's just a consciousness shift in knowing that you have the tools to do that. But you have to do it as a role model, not by telling people, you must meditate with me. Once they see, because, joy is the quality of the soul. What are we doing in meditation? We're nurturing our souls. We're connecting. We're finding that joy within. Once other people see that in you, they'll be like, what's Sharanyaa got that I haven't got? Why is she so happy? She's in the same situation I'm in, but she's coping with it so well. It's only through that people will look and go, oh, wow, this actually does allow you to deal with this stuff. I wasn't very good at it in my 20s. I didn't start this until I was just over 30. I wish I had. I wish I'd had your opportunity, because I think I would have done much better. But, we each have our moment.
I so agree with you, Elizabeth. That's exactly what I feel. But I cannot, like you say, put that on to my teenagers, let alone anyone. Avani, can I invite you would you like to ask anything? Because I know I've just got a message saying time is short.
Sorry, I was just going to ask Elizabeth, I think one of the things for us youth is finding that routine to put meditation, or like have meditation as a daily thing in our lives, and finding that kind of willpower to practice often. So do you kind of have any advice on how, because I'm quite, I put my hands up when I say I can be, I don't meditate every day when I should. Yeah.
No, it's okay. There's no shoulds in this. See, what do you do every day? It's the stuff that you love or that's essential for life, right?
Yeah.
If you're in love, you meet a wonderful, gorgeous boy and you're in love, would you want to see him every day for 15 minutes at least?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's the same sort of thing, that if you're interested in your own self-development because it's going to make you a better person, you'll want to do it. It's more about interest than willpower. If it becomes a chore, I have to do this, I have to use my will to do this, I have to meditate every day, it'll be horrible. You're better off not doing it, because you're doing it out of some sense of should. And any shoulds, whether you're 20 or 60, doesn't matter. Never going to work. Yeah. It has to be something that you understand the benefits and the importance of it. So best thing is to first figure out why I meditate. What's it doing for me? What's it giving me in life? And then it's like running to meet somebody that you fall in love with. Do you go hesitantly? Do you resist? No, you run. You want to see them. It's like, oh, wow, we've got to meet at 2 o'clock, and you're there at 1:45, waiting for the guy, right? It's the same sort of thing. It's about creating a culture and awareness of how meditation gives you a better life. So don't try and do it by willpower and shoulds. Try and do it by exploring and experience what the benefits are. And even if you start with 5 minutes every day, it's okay. Create a routine in a way that works, not trying to do an hour of meditation at 5 a.m. every morning and cleaning every evening. That's never going to work at your age. Do what works. Yeah?
Yeah,
That
thank you.
kind of, yeah. Sorry, Avani. Is that okay? Is there anything you'd like to say before?
No, I just think that it was very useful and helpful. And it's definitely something I'd take on board and use. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was so nice to hear.
So, can I just say, Bruce Lipton talks about change in behaviour. May I just ask Elizabeth, before we leave, because we've got 5 minutes left, I was going to offer a relaxation, but I just want to ask Elizabeth, is there anything more that you'd like to add when it comes to behaviour and change?
Yeah. Don't give up because it's difficult, because it is difficult. What we spoke about before with the subconscious programming, all of us know, I think, you know, whether you certainly say by the age of 12 or so, you know the things about yourself that you don't really like, your patterns, you know, if you get angry and aggressive towards people, or you get jealous, or, you know, whatever it is, we all know our patterns and we want to change. And the hardest thing is when we see ourselves going back into old patterns that we don't like, and we think, oh my God, this is never going to happen. I want to do this. I want so much to be a, you know, a wonderful person and all this, and I've got these, you know, selfish motivations, etc. So main thing is all that comes from subconscious programming. So it's a little bit of a long haul. It's a mixture of cleaning out the root samskaras, which we do in heartfulness cleaning, plus looking at yourself in the mirror in meditation and being comfortable with those feelings that we talked about earlier that come up, the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the, you know, the desire-based things. And at your age also so much around sensuality and sexuality. And, you know, when you grow up, say, in a community of people that's spiritually focused, often we do what's called spiritual bypassing. There's a guy called John Wellwood. He's an American guy. He died last year. An amazing Buddhist practitioner and psychotherapist who uses this term spiritual bypassing, where he said that a lot of people who are spiritual deny their feelings because they think they shouldn't have attachments to things, they shouldn't have negative feelings, so they repress them and bury them with a spiritual goal in mind. It's really worth reading some of his stuff. It's quite interesting. But what he says is that until you start to face what's going on inside yourself, learn to be able to accept it and laugh at it, you'll keep repressing. And that doesn't work, because then it's very difficult to change. You've got to bring it out of your subconscious. And that's one of the roles of a spiritual guide, to bring stuff up to the surface so that we see it in ourselves and we're able to change. If you can create a culture in yourself and amongst your friends where it's okay to do this, it's okay to have self-compassion about all your yucky stuff, you'll do wonders for yourself. Because then, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're all human. We all get on with life. We let go of one thing after another after another. The practices give us the tools. They give us an amazing support to do this. Daji often says that transmission's like a lift. It takes us up very fast. So our job is to try and work with ourselves, not judge, not gossip about each other, about all our faults and stuff, but support each other. So, I mean, if you can create that culture in the youth of today, humanity will soar. No question about it. Our generation has done an appalling job at that. I mean, don't look to us for all the answers, because if you look at what we've created, you'll go, no, that's not good. But if you can learn from all the mistakes we've made and do better, it'll be fantastic.
Okay, I've just got a message. We've got less than 2 minutes. Girls,
I'm done.
Girls, would you like to say any more before we end?
I just really, really loved that. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was such a eye-opening perspective. Like, I didn't think that, you know, I could take my meditation practice, you know, a little bit easily on myself. I always kind of, you know, told myself that it was good to do it, you know, at a certain time, but it's so refreshing to hear that from you.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with Sharanyaa. It's definitely, this conversation is definitely something that I kind of needed, and I'm definitely going to take a lot away from it. And just thank you so much for this, and I'm looking forward to the next edition. And I think we want to carry on this coffee talks, so with the next edition. So I hope everyone can join us for the next talk that we have next month, hopefully.
Bye, guys.
But thank you.
Before we get off, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, girls. Bye.
Coffee Talk, everybody. Insight and experience and questions answered from Elizabeth, Alka, Avani, and Sharanya. Wonderful panel. Thank you all. That was really great. I enjoyed it.